we're missing the point of oxytocin. It's actually helping to deliver the baby.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful way that I like to look at this. And everything that I talk about in my upcoming fertility course in the CHEK Institute and in our talk is really related to that. How can we maximize the love, decrease the catecholamines, maximize the love, and get that soil as healthy as possible? That's what this is all about.
Yeah. What do we need to know about the love hormone?
Yeah, 2 other things real quickly for the guys. Less cannabis use. Just stop puffing cannabis all day long. It's crappy stuff. You're getting it from dispensaries that have synthesized these Frankenstein monsters,
Yes.
cannabinoid receptors on your adrenals, your gonads.
Well,
your
first
brain,
of
your
all,
gut.
before you tell us about that,
Yeah.
what is the love hormone?
Let's do that.
Because we don't know why we got to stop smoking pot yet.
Well, I'm going to give you the opportunity to describe your beautiful model of love. But one thing that we're really going to get into here is the role of oxytocin in every step of this. As
So
I mentioned,
oxytocin is the love
oxytocin, yeah. It's produced by a part of this hypothalamus. The VPN, I believe, is the initials, paraventricular nucleus, PVN. It is stored in the posterior pituitary, and then it's released in a pulsatile fashion. Just enough to keep all of these feedback loops that we're going to talk about in a minute in working order. Well, oxytocin has a really, really beautiful role in this whole thing we're talking about. When you're connecting and you're having that great sex, that hopefully everybody out there has had truly good sex once in their life, it's almost, you get into a flow state and it just gets better and better and better. It's more than just ejaculating. It is a deep connection with another person. You're both being flooded with oxytocin, the love hormone. This keeps you almost addicted to one another in those moments afterwards. You just want to cuddle and get close. So oxytocin has a really important role in conception because oxytocin is actually what leads to the ejaculatory reflex, where you shoot your semen into a vagina. And then the role of oxytocin, this is before birth. It has a great role in birth as well. Oxytocin also causes a quivering response in the uterus with orgasm that stimulates the muscle in such a way that it actually sort of shunts the sperm in the direction of the openings to the fallopian tubes, where it's going to need to get into in order for a sperm to meet the egg.
Right.
Could be in either tube. So this oxytocin is connecting, it's inviting to the spirit of this baby, it's driving the semen out of the penis into the uterine cavity, and then and the uterus is then pushing it up towards the egg. And that's the first part. This love hormone also is extremely relevant in birth. In childbirth, we have something called the fetal ejection reflex. And I'm borrowing a lot of this from a mentor of mine, Michel Audin. I brought you a copy of one of his books. He's written about 20 incredible books, and he sent me a signed copy of his entire collection. And he's 92, was a general surgeon in Paris, and was making these observations as the only surgeon around when the midwives needed a C-section. He wasn't even an OBGYN. But he emphasizes the role of oxytocin in the moments before a woman gives birth. We're talking maybe in the hour or two beforehand. Women tend to get on all fours with their knees together on the ground in a prayer position. They don't want to be distracted. And I've seen it in my wife, and I've seen it in many of my clients.
I've seen lots of women do that, yeah.
Yeah, and especially in the home environment where they're comfortable, they feel safe, they've got their candles lit, they don't have people coming in and barking things at them all the time and shoving their hand in their vagina without consent. And I hate to paint that picture in such a morbid, twisted way, but when you consider all of the interventions and all the distractions and all the asking questions while they're contracting and whatnot in the hospital system, those catecholamines, this sort of fear response to that, not to mention, hey, honey, you want to turn on the NBA game or whatever when you're giving birth? It activates the neocortex, which suppresses.
Do guys do that?
Of course, they like. What are you gonna? My wife was asked, "What do you want to watch while your guys are in labor in the hospital?" She's like, "What am I gonna watch? What the fuck are you talking about?"
That's so bad.
So weird. So when that neocortex, this big, beautiful, incredibly complex thing that makes us so aware of our awareness, When that's activated, oxytocin, the love hormone, doesn't do its thing, and you don't get that fetal ejection reflex. So the best thing to do is leave a woman alone, because you want that baby and this woman to be flooded with love. It was love that brought this egg and sperm together to create the baby. It's now love bringing the baby into the world. And if you distract them by activating the neocortex, or if you put them in a state of fear where their catecholamines are surging at the wrong time. Granted, at the time of birth, women will scream and roar, the lioness comes out. That is a response to catecholamines surging, because it is intense.
Oh, yeah.
And it can be very scary. You're facing mortality. You're stepping through the portal. All of that is true. But when oxytocin is flooded, this baby's coming out enriched with the serum is just flooded with this love hormone. The baby is ejected when this reflex happens. And you'll hear women who have birth, water births and everything else describe this. Later, the lactation, the milk letdown is driven by oxytocin. And that is pumping love into the baby. There's a benzodiazepine-like property to it, and the endorphins, which kind of mimic morphine in their systems, it makes them calm, at ease. It makes them quiet so that predators don't come and find them. So this connection, this codependency between mother and baby, this is all driven from the moment of conception.
You mean predators from when you're giving birth out in nature?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so for example, an example that everybody always talks about, which is well documented, is if there's a female lion out on the savannah in sub-Saharan Africa giving birth, and she hears a predator in the bushes, her labor can stop abruptly and head elsewhere to give birth. But the same hormones are at play with a newborn baby. Yeah. Because that milk actually sedates them to some degree, puts them in that love feeling right after orgasm, right after you've had sex. And that keeps the baby quiet and calm and loved, and there's this connection. But imagine a world where we have an increasing C-section rate, we have an increasing intervention rate, epidural rate, you have anesthesia, meaning you can't feel your body.
Yeah.
Imagine what all these interventions are doing. It's creating multiple generations of children being born out of love.
Right.
And this is another thing about IVF.
Not out of love, but in absence of love.
In absence of love. That's right. Yeah, not out of love. Yeah, you're right. I should clarify there. In the absence of this love hormone.
Yes.
So this is, again, back to your sort of reductionist view of the medical system. We see oxytocin as having, it helps to eject the milk and it helps to do this and that. And we need to give you synthetic oxytocin because we know it makes the uterus contract. We're missing the point of oxytocin. It's actually helping to deliver the baby.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful way that I like to look at this. And everything that I talk about in my upcoming fertility course in the CHEK Institute and in our talk is really related to that. How can we maximize the love, decrease the catecholamines, maximize the love, and get that soil as healthy as possible? That's what this is all about.
Yeah.